Hi there, I'm chatting to Fred Root from Worldwide Creative, a very successful entrepreneur who's made a great name for himself. Probably best known for exclusive books, hey Fred, and Heavy Chef Project.
That's
How are you
right.
doing?
I'm very well. Thanks, Michael, for the opportunity to chat to you.
No, and thank you for taking the time, literally 5 minutes, because I just wanted to ask you about entrepreneurship because it's a mindset. We can't blame the government, big banks, or big business. They have different rules to us. And for a lot of guys who are trying to make a success of things, it's about an attitude. So my first question to you is, what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur in South Africa today? From your experience, of course.
From my experience, look, I don't think there's one particular mold that you can define for entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes. I've met so many in my experience working in Worldwide Creative, as well as just in my studies and in my personal network. And there's so many different characteristics that define an entrepreneur. I think if I look at the what it takes to be an entrepreneur, wife, I think that the first thing would be to echo what my wife says is you have to be certifiably nuts. It really does take the ability to roll with the punches. It's being an entrepreneur is not something for the faint-hearted. You have on a day-to-day basis, so many challenges that you face, some micro-environmental, some macro-environmental, a lot of challenges which arise completely out of your control. And the definitive characteristic of an entrepreneur is somebody who's able to navigate through the choppy waters that you find yourself in. You've got to be able to make money when times are good and when times are bad. And I think that's the thing. You've got to be able to think on your feet and remain sharp at all times. The biggest trap I think that you can fall into is to suddenly become complacent when things are good, and you start to sink into this false sense of security because you've had a good 6 months or a good 12 months. And you believe for some reason that it's just going to continue like that. And all of a sudden, some pretty major challenges will land at your doorstep. So, to answer your question, in South Africa, what it takes to become an entrepreneur, I think there's several things that spring to mind. First of all, you've got to have that ability to roll the punches. Secondly, I think you have to be pretty networked. South Africa is in some ways a very old school environment where people do business with people that they know. I also think that there is a certain mindset that you have to have in South Africa that, we have particular challenges here that are unique to our country. We've got our history that, we have to be aware of, and we have to honor the particular challenge that we've got in our hands to rectify the mistakes of the past. I think that's a responsibility that lies upon all of us. Yes. Something that we really need to take very seriously. It's not easy always to be able to do that. And I think you have to be creative. You have to be innovative. You have to be educated, not in terms of necessarily, having an MBA or master's degrees in whatever it may be, when I say educated, I think in terms of, worldly wise, you need to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your industry, not just, in South Africa, but across the world. You need to find what the major trends are and be able to at least try to have an idea of what's around the corner.
Yeah. I take it your wife's been through a lot of pain going through this journey with you when you started with that first quote from her.
Yeah, I had an idea yesterday, in fact, of doing an interview with the wives of a whole bunch of entrepreneurs, and just to find out what they've been through, the kind of ups and downs. Because I think that's the other thing. I mean, people don't talk about it. Entrepreneurs are a wild and woolly bunch, and I've seen it over and over again. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship, but there is a dark side to it. Entrepreneur, the sort of entrepreneur segment is littered with broken homes,
Yeah, absolutely.
divorce, debt, bankruptcy. It's again, it's not for the faint-hearted.
No, it's not. And hindsight's it's easy to have hindsight on this, isn't it? But asking that, what do you think has been your most important keys to your success? Getting Worldwide Creative up and running, because you're obviously in a unique space, and what you've created is very different to a guy selling widgets as an entrepreneur. What do you believe your keys to success are, apart from a stable and supportive wife?
Yeah, I think I'll say that's number one. Thank God she's chosen to stick by me. I think that's she deserves a medal, or many medals. I think that there's two things that come to mind when you ask the question. The first is focus. I think all entrepreneurs face the particular challenge of being distracted all the time. I think there's something in the nature of entrepreneurs that they love to jump on opportunities. So it's a constant challenge to remain focused, and something that I and my business partner Mike have battled with over the past 10 years of being in business together is the fact that there's always these things that land on your doorstep, and you kind of lick your lips and think, flip, this would be amazing to do. But, in all honesty, it's so easy to become fragmented and to lose your focus. And focus is it's the key to any successful business, whether it's, the ice cream shop around the corner, whether it's Apple, in terms of their products. Absolutely. Steve Jobs is famous for coming back to Apple and introducing focus. He took them from 50 or so products down to a range of 6 or 7, and look what that did for them. So focus is absolutely key. I think the second thing that comes to mind is people. Look at the partnership that I have with Mike, and the different characteristics. If I look at my skill set, if I was left to run this business on my own, it wouldn't last a week, because I just don't have the skills that Mike does, and Mike's absolutely exceptional at things like the administration of the company, the operations, the execution, all the things that basically keep the wheels turning. My skills, on the other hand, are more on the creative side, the vision side, the strategic side. I'm the guy who goes out and sells the company, and that's what I should be doing, what I was born to do. So I think that's a lesson that it's something that I think all entrepreneurs need to learn. That they can't do everything themselves. They need to surround themselves with good people who supplement their weaknesses. They're the guys who kind of pick up the pieces where you can't.
I think that's such a powerful point, because that's been my experience. That's been my failings, is not having the right people with me on my journey. So hopefully we've got that sorted out now. And one last question, Fred. In terms of aspiring entrepreneurs, what advice would you give them going forward? What would be the most important, do you think, thing that you would actually advise them on, beyond what you already said?
Look, I think that thing of focus is hugely important, because I think there's a quote by the German philosopher Goethe. When you are committed, when you focus to one thing, this magical process happens where everything starts to fall into place. And I can't remember the exact words of the quote, but it's it is really like that. As soon as you find your focus, Worldwide Creative, for example, our focus, our stated aim is to become the best in the world at creating profitable online communities. We believe very strongly in community within marketing, and we are highly focused on that. We've got several offerings, but within all of that is threaded this singular focus of becoming the best at creating communities. I think focus is hugely important. I think there's a couple of things that I could say that for example, interdependence is also important. The ability for an entrepreneur to be interdependent. So you need to supplement your skills, as I said, by surrounding yourself with good people, but at the same time, not to abdicate the role of,
Okay.
whatever it is that you're not good at. You need to have your finger on the pulse. You need to understand what you're handing over. You need to have a good sense of what the objectives are, what the tasks are, to keep those people around you accountable. Whether it's your business partner, whether it's a new intern, you need to understand what's going on. That idea of interdependence is really important. I'm only really starting to understand that well now after all these years, And when that framework of interdependence happens within your organization, it's quite a magical process. People really start to work well together.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Fred, thank you so much for your time. Nice, short, sweet, and sharp. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And all the best, and we'll catch up soon.
For sure. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, Michael. Cheers.
Thanks, Fred.